Good morning, Shelter family. It's Pastor Jay here coming at you for another 6 at 6. It is March 31st, Tuesday, March 31st, and we are coming on the day after we got here in Arizona for us to have a stay-at-home order from Governor Ducey. So I imagine a lot of you are waking up having a little bit more extra time on your hands because now, unless you're in certain industries, you're not going anywhere. And so what better time for us to open up our word, for us to pour into it and really get something here. So what I want to do today is I want to tell you a little bit of a story that happened to me Sunday afternoon around 5 p.m., but also show you something in the Word of God that I think I've always really actually wondered about, that has always seemed to be contradicting as I've read it, but after we study out a little bit, we see something very, very true and very clear. This is out of Galatians chapter 6 and verse 2. You've heard me preach on this before. It says, carry or share in each other's burdens, and in this way you will fulfill the law of Christ. If any of you think you are something when you're nothing, you deceive yourselves. Each of you should test your own actions. Then you can take pride in yourself without comparing yourself to someone else. For each of you should carry your own burden. Now, I imagine you see what I did there with the slide where I highlighted burden twice. For me, I don't know about you, but we're being told in verse 2 from Paul that we're supposed to share in one another's burdens. But then in verse 5, we're being implored by him to actually carry our own burden. So what's going on here? Well, much in the New Testament is obviously written in Greek. And in the Greek language, there are multiple meanings for the same word, unlike in some ways with the English language. And so this word burden is actually two different words. The first one is the word baros. And that's what we get in verse 2 where it says, carry your, share in one another's burdens. This word baros, actually the definition is meaning anything that is pressing on one physically, or the idea of something that makes a demand on one's resources. Now we come down and we see the word fortune in verse 5. Fortune is a weight that is to be carried appropriately, meaning an expected weight. And where we get the illustration for the word fortune is really actually relating to a ship, that a ship has to have a certain amount of weight in it to sail appropriate. In fact, this word fortune was used for ships that would come, and when they would drop off their payload and their cargo, that before traveling back to where they came from, they were actually loaded up with a certain amount of rocks, a certain amount of weight that they were expected to carry. So what we have here is we have two different things. We have Paul saying, hey, if you love one another, if you want to fulfill the law of Christ, you need to share in one another's baros. You need to share in the burdens that are put on someone unexpectedly, that they're not expected to carry. And I think this is really interesting, right? Because so often, and especially in a time like this, we are trying to figure out how we can engage with somebody, how we can actually carry the load of our neighbor, of our family member, when we can't even see them or we can't get to them physically. And so I just want to give you just something that happened to me this Sunday afternoon. Around 3 o'clock Sunday afternoon, I had something happen to me that really injured my soulish man, my will, my mind, my will, and my emotions. I was just... frankly, I was just hurt. I had some hurt feelings, felt a little bit betrayed, just had some things go on in my life. And this happens, this happens to all of us. I'm sure it's happening to some of you right now. Anyway, I was struggling with it, and I told Kristen, hey, I just need to go for a ride real quick. So I drove out to go get the kids some dinner. And on the way, I called a good friend of mine. And I just asked him a question. I said, hey, listen, man, here's the situation. Will you pray for me? What's cool about this guy is he ended up just pouring into me and giving me some advice. And I said, okay, man, well, I love you. I'll talk to you later. And he said, whoa, I want to pray for you now. I said, oh, you can pray for me later. He goes, no, I want to pray for you now. And I was standing outside Panda Express, and I put my hand kind of on the wall. And this brother of mine, man, he prayed for me and for like 5 minutes. And I literally felt the unburdening of my soul, the release of something that I had been carrying around. And the reason why I'm sharing this with you is because I think that we undersell very, very much what we can do as brothers and sisters when we join with someone and pray for them. I'm not talking about a prayer that you say out of rogue or you say out of routine. I'm talking about a prayer that's heartfelt, where you are interceding. Think of the word interceding, where this person's going this way and they're carrying something, and you aren't picking up their burden, but you're sharing it and giving it to someone that's much stronger than yourself. I'll never forget that moment, because I was so overwhelmed with this thought that had been bothering me, this situation. I'm so grateful for someone that shared in my borrows, something that was a burden that was brought upon me unfair. And I'm so grateful for a brother that stepped in and did what the word said. So we have to figure out what in our life, where we can step in, guys, at this point in time. We have to make ourselves available. And I encourage some of you who are not accustomed to praying for another person, man, now is the time for you to step out of your comfort zone. Pick up the phone today and call someone that you love and ask them, hey, is there anything that I can agree with you in faith for at this time? I hope this makes sense to you. I know it's simple and I know it's very personal to me, but I'm telling you, I'll never forget that moment standing out of a Panda Express and feeling literally the burden, the borrows that was put on me, carried by a friend of mine and given to God. You can do this. I love you guys so much. Thank you. We are still on target, I believe, and we will be updating you frequently about the blood drive on Wednesday as we're seeing if this is essential or not. I believe it is. Thanks so much, guys. Talk to you later.